Hey everyone, welcome to our little Aerobic Zone training for today. We have a good workout. It's going to be a 30-minute body weight, no equipment necessary Aerobic Zone training. But before we get into our joint prep, I need you to go do your cars routine, and I need you to go do a core temp warm up. Just if you haven't gotten wind of this yet, but we do that before every single class. So just make sure your core temp is up. Walk around the block at a quick pace, maybe a jog, ride your bike, just a few minutes worth just to get things warm. Do your cars routine and then come on back and we're gonna get kind of prepped for some of the specific movements from today. So when you're ready, come on back. In the meantime, I want us to start with just some Achilles kinetic stretching and some wrist kinetic stretching. And what that looks like for the Achilles kinetic stretch, what we're trying to do, it may be hard to see since I'm wearing black pants, but what we're trying to do is lift our foot up as well as lean our knee forward. And then we're trying to press our foot down and lean our knee back. Lift up, lean forward, press down, lean back. So all I'm trying to do is shorten all of this stuff and then shorten all of this stuff, both from long positions to start. So find combat base is the preferable position. That just means collapsed, kind of on one knee or one foot. You can do this one against a wall. It also works. Same exact thing. You're just kind of shifting your knee forward and back as you're pushing and pulling. So start by lifting those toes up, keeping the bottom of your foot off the floor. I want you to lean your knee forward. Right when you feel like you can't lift that foot anymore, I want you to squeeze your toes and pull that knee back. So opening up that angle again. Lift up, lean forward, press those toes down, and lean back. Two more. Lift up, lean forward, press down, lean back. Lift up, lean forward, drive that foot down, lean back. This last one, we're going to lift up and lean forward. And then we're going to hold this position and press our foot down. Let's just keep on pushing and keep on holding. Bye, Goose. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax. Just a passive stretch. Lean forward. Take a few deep breaths here. All right. Let's go ahead and switch sides. I'm going to lean forward just to get a little bit of a passive stretch. If you're getting a pinch in your hip or a pinch on the front of your ankle, that's just kind of indicative that those toes aren't moving to the extent that they should. The metatarsals in your foot aren't spreading out, so that's going to cause that pinch. They need to spread in order to create more ankle flexion. So that may mean incorporating some more toe cars. In the meantime, the next best option, if you're getting that pinch on the front of your ankle, would be to head over to the wall and do this one on that wall variation. All right, lift that foot up, lean forward, press that foot down, and lean back. Lift up, lean forward, press down, and lean back. Up, forward, squeeze, drive it back. Up, lean forward, press down, lean back. On your fifth one, we're going to hold that forward position and just press the foot down for 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, slowly relax. 1, lean forward, get that knee as far forward as you can. A few deep breaths as you passively stretch, just trying to relax that as much as you can. 3, 2, 1, relax. All right. We're going to go into some straight leg hip cars next. You've already done regular hip cars, but we're going to do these side lying. And for these, for our straight leg, we're really trying to make sure that we're creating as much rotation as we can. So pull that toe up towards your hip. Don't point it, pull it. Then bring that leg straight up as high as you can. Now pull that leg all the way up towards the ceiling. Now you're going to turn from the knee, spin, and reach that leg straight back Squeeze the butt as soon as you can and bring it back in front of you, and then reverse, straight back. Squeeze the butt, lift that leg, that side butt should squeeze, and then rotate. Spin that knee, bring that quad as close to your chest as you can, and then all the way back down. One more. Lift up, out to the side, rotate. Last one, straight back, lift up, spin. Good job. Switch sides. A little bit spicier than your average hip car. Again, trying to keep that back nice and flat, just moving from the hip. This is a longer lever than we normally use, so it can be, one, difficult to move, and two, feel like has more of a fatigue component to it. It's hard to do. One more rep in this direction on this leg. All right, let's do some wrist stuff. So to prep for our wrist work today, I want us to start with some finger cars. So we're going to bring my mat over here a little bit so it's easier to see. So we are going to get our hands flat on the floor, and I'm going to rest my shoulders kind of behind my wrists. Too much wrist extension is going to make this really difficult, so we're going to start at an easy progression and work our way up to more difficult stuff. And I want you just to play the piano, thumbs up, index finger, middle finger, fourth finger, and pinky. You're trying to keep your palms nice and flat on the floor as you do that. And this isn't just a flash in the pan, this is a slow, controlled lift off. Give me 5 rounds of lifting on each finger. I know this is pretty fringy. It's all right, we need to have some good wrist and finger extension. Once you've done 5 rounds, squeeze your fingers into the floor. Lean your shoulders forward and back. So you're squeezing in that whole time, pressing your hand through the floor. You're scooping your wrists through the floor as you lean forward. Relax and lean back. Squeeze, scoop. Keep those arms straight as you lean forward. Relax and lean back. Only go to a range where you don't feel any pain and you feel like you can maintain that contraction the whole time. Squeeze, shift forward. One more, 5 reps. Very nice. Going into wrist rocks, you're going to make a fist. Tilt forward and back. Keep on alternating. We'll get 10 reps of each. One more for me. And we're going to finish up with just a couple of regular wrist cars. We have some good amount of time on our hands today in the form of planks, push-ups, mountain climbers, all that stuff. So just get a couple more wrist cars, and then we'll talk about our workout. All right. So for today's AZT, what we're going to do is go through 3 different stations, and each station is going to have like 5 to 8, somewhere in that range, movements. And we're going to just spend 10 minutes kind of AMRAPing as many rounds as possible through that stuff. Nothing super technical, of course. And again, just a reminder, the purpose for this is to keep our heart rate sub-maximal. We're below that 80% threshold. That's going to help us maintain the use of oxygen to fuel our energy for this stuff. And that's again, if you haven't heard me say it before, I'm sure you have, but that's the beefiest of all of our energy systems. We can really, really build that up to be quite robust. And that's the purpose for today, is just applying some body weight stimulus. And that's just going to make our recovery better. So let's take squats, for example. If you go into a strength class and you do a ton of squats, you're really sore the next day. Aerobic zone training is going to be at a progression where it's going to, 1, promote better recovery, better use of oxygen to recover, but it's also not going to be incredibly fatiguing. So you're not going to make that, you're not going to lose from that strength training stimulus because it's at a pretty moderate progression. So this is a great tool. If you are primarily doing any strength training, you definitely want to get some AZT in as well. It's good for volume, good for recovery, lots of benefits to it. Primarily though, we have a lot of cardiovascular health. Sorry, I'm getting way off topic here. Anyways, let's go to station A. Let's talk about station A. We have toe taps, curtsy squats, Jefferson curls, mountain climbers, push-ups, air squats, and swimmers in the bottom of your squat. So we have 7-ish movements, maybe 6, 7. And we're just gonna run through them as we get to the station. Sound good? Station 2, we have lateral jumps, lateral jumps, good mornings, hollow rocks, foot hand crawl hold, reverse plank raises, and hamstring sliders. So you will need a towel for this one, just to slide your feet forward and back. Or just socks on a smooth surface like hardwood or tile. And then station 3, we have back extensions, V-ups, shoulder taps, plus inchworms, killer combo, kneeling hip extensions or sissy squats, a wall sit, and calf raises. Cool. A lot of stuff to get through. It's going to take about 30 minutes, so let's hammer through it. Here we go. Starting with toe taps. I'm going to grab my... toe taps, curtsy squats, and Jefferson curls are first. Starting with 20 reps of toe taps. Here we go. I set our clock up. We're going in 5 seconds. Turn the music up. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and toe tap. Going all the way up to 20. Oof. That was 20. Yeah, my very expensive timer fell. But the timer didn't stop. That's good. Let's do some curtsy squats next. Okay, so on your curtsy squat, it's primarily like a single leg lunge, but we're gonna drop back and then lunge. That's really gonna load up that posterior hip of that front leg. Trying to get your knee pretty close to your heel, and then back up and switch. Keep on going. We got 5 of these. I'm gonna turn my computer back on here. It's falling apart. And then next up, we're gonna go through some Jefferson curls. If this much loading of that lateral knee, lateral hip is too much, you could just sub in a regular lunge here. Keep in mind we have air squats later on in this station. That is 5 for me. Let's talk about the Jefferson curl next. For your Jefferson curls, this is like a standing segmented cat-cow. The purpose of this is to load our spine as much as we can, not rush through into our hamstrings. So I want you to start by tucking your pelvis. Once that is tucked, crunch your rib cage, and now tuck your chin and just pull your forehead all the way down your chest, past your hips, past your quads, past your knees. Everything is rounded. You're reaching down towards the floor. And then from your pelvis, you're going to pull yourself back up. Walk that spine up, back into extension. Lift the chest up and repeat. A tight coil straight downward. Reach and then pull back up and lift. One more. After our Jefferson curls for 3 reps, we have mountain climbers and push-ups. Squeeze those fingers into the floor, get a nice good grip, and let's crank through 10 mountain climbers on each leg. Straight into some push-ups. Somewhere between 5 and 10 reps. Followed by air squats and some swimmers. 10 air squats. Find a good bottom position where you can maintain a nice flat back, guiding tension into the hips. If you go too low and you feel your back round, now you're no longer loading quads, adductors, hamstrings, glutes. You're just loading spine stuff into a lengthened position, which is probably okay for body weight. Maybe not super ideal. Definitely not okay when we're loading this stuff with like a barbell or a dumbbell or a kettlebell. A weighted squat. And then bottom of the squat hold. Let's get some swimmers in. Hands behind the head, extend, reach all the way back and hinge, and then reverse all the way up, hinge, elbows pulling behind you the whole time. 2 reps, whoo, and then stand back up. Let's repeat that station, toe taps first. Toe taps, we have curtsy squats. Drop that knee back and down. Trying to get it to the lateral side, that outside of your heel. It's gonna help really load up that front hip. 5 reps on each leg. After our 5, we're going into Jefferson curls. Tuck the chin, crunch forward and round everything. Reach down towards the floor, pull that chest back up, lift the chin, and repeat. Tuck, crunch, and round. After your 3, going into mountain climbers. Pull that knee up towards the chest. Keep those abs tight. You're moving from the hip, not from the back. After you've done your 10, straight into 5 to 10 push-ups. Again, find a progression that's gonna keep you in the green. For me, that means doing hand release push-ups in the bottom, which gives me an extra second to recover. After our push-ups, we have air squats. 10 reps on your 10th one. We're holding for those swimmers. If you notice on your air squat that your back's rounding sooner than you'd like it to, or you can't hit a full depth squat without your back rounding, chances are you're probably lacking some rotational capacity out of your hip. And that's what allows us to have good joint space to get through ranges of motion. Maybe they need to jump in on a kin stretch class or 2. We host live kin stretch classes every Saturday. Let's do some swimmers. Whew. All right, back to the top. We got about 3 minutes left. Let's see if we can get through another round here. Curtsy squats. Five reps on each leg, a total of 10 reps. They're going back in to our Jefferson curls. Here we go. Tuck, crunch, round that back and reach. After your 3, going back into mountain climbers. Looks like we have just enough time to finish out this round. If we're staying green, we'll crank through our 10 Mountain climbers on each leg. Followed by push-ups, 5 to 10 reps. Whew. Get a few squats in. After our 10 squats, hold that bottom position. We're going to call it for this round. We're going to finish right on time. Remember, both arms moving through this range of motion for 2, and then stand back up. Woo! Just seconds to spare. All right, starting round 2, station 2, I should say. For station 2, we have lateral hops for 10, some good mornings for 8 reps, some hollow rocks, foot hand crawl hold, reverse plank raises, and hamstring sliders. So we are going to need that towel for this one. Here we go. I have my towel ready. Starting with some lateral hops, 10 reps. 3, 2, 1, and go. You have the option. Double foot, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or single. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Straight into good mornings. 10 total, or 8 reps total. A nice big hinge. Find that hamstring tension and hop back up. This one may not get that heart rate up, but it's a good opportunity to practice that hinge, the connection between our pelvis and our spine and our hips. How good are you at driving tension to the hamstrings without your back moving? That is 8 for me. Next up, I'm going to get some hollow rocks. Let's talk about the hollow rock. Let's talk about positional stuff first. In that hollow position, if you want to really set yourself up for success, that means starting with tucking the pelvis and crunching the rib cage, reaching your hands forward and then lifting your feet. That should drive your low back into the floor. And now the lift comes from the hips. So I'm actually leaning my chest back as I try and pick my hips up. So I kind of roll onto the base of my rib cage and I roll onto my hips. But there's no lag between my legs and my abs here. I don't kick myself up. All this is one solid piece. That's 10. Next up, we're doing a foot hand crawl hold for 30 seconds. Squeezing those fingers into the floor, tuck the toes, and lift those knees. "30 seconds here. Three, 2, 1, relax. Whew. Reverse plank raises and hamstring sliders. All right, for our reverse plank raises, we're going to flip over. Hands are going to go behind our hips. Pull your shoulder blades together. Squeeze your fingers into the floor. Drive those heels into the ground and lift the hips up. 1, 2. If straight legs is too difficult, bend the knees. Turn it into a tabletop. Just go to a height that feels reasonable. You're going to get a big stretch out of that anterior shoulder capsule. That is okay. Whatever progression works for you. I got a few more here. All right, and then the hamstring sliders. For our sliders, we're going to be on our back bridging the hips up, so we're squeezing our glutes. And then we extend the legs, drop our hips down to the floor, pull in and repeat, extend. That's option 1. Option 2 is we keep our hips extended and then pull back in. Whatever progression works for 10 reps. These are harder than they look. Try and keep that butt squeezed the whole time. If you're feeling this in your back, that means that we're at too difficult a progression. We got to switch it up. All right, that was round 1 of this station. Let's go to round 2. Starting off with lateral hops and good mornings. Here we go. I'm gonna go with my single leg bounds. I like these. Right into some good mornings. Abs are tight. As your pelvis tilts forward, your rib cage follows. These 2 points are connected. Soft bend out of the knees. Legs are definitely not straight. Slight bend at the knees. After our 8, going into our hollow rocks. Remember that setup. Now let's talk about a little bit more difficult position. So if your normal hollow hold is here, you want to try a more challenging rock, try extending your legs. Keep reaching those hands forward. You'll notice that it's harder to lift your hips up, keeping your legs connected to your pelvis. We don't want to do this, right? We want to keep everything nice and tight and really lift. Arms overhead is probably the most challenging. That's our 10, which means you have the foot hand crawl hold. 3, 2, 1. 30-second hold here. Keeping my knees underneath my hips. My wrists are underneath my shoulders and my toes are tucked. About 10 more seconds. Three, 2, 1. Into those reverse plank raises. Hands behind the back. Shoulder blades together and lift. Two more for me. We're over the halfway point for some AZT today, so hang with me. Keep it green. 10 hamstring sliders. Remember, start in that glute bridge. Extend the hips. Now extend the knee. Keep the butt tight. If you can keep the hips up off the floor, great. Pull the knees back in. All right. Very nice. Back to the top. We got about 2.5 minutes left. I'm going back into my lateral hops here. Single leg bounds. Lateral, I should say. Straight into my good mornings. Shooting for 8 reps of my good mornings. After 8, I'm going down into my challenging hollow rocks. Remember, find a hollow position that is difficult, but one that you can still maintain that boat position, that Really, really tight, no lag position. And then rock. Hips up, chest follows. Flip it on over for a foot hand crawl hold. We're in our last minute or so. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Lift those knees up off the floor. Knees up. Just our hands and our toes on the floor. We're halfway. Good opportunity to practice your breathing. 3, 2, 1. Relax, slip on over for some reverse plank raises. I'm just going to do 5 so that I can do 5 of my hamstring sliders and kind of stay within that 10-minute AMRAP range. Still getting some nice even reps in. This is our last 15 seconds here. I'm switching over to hamstring sliders because I want to get an even third round in. I probably won't get all my reps in. 3, 2, 1. Rest. We are almost there. Here we go. All right, round. So station 3. For station 3, we have some core work in here. Back extensions and V-ups. Then we go straight into shoulder taps and inchworms. That's a pretty killer combo. Then we get into some lower body stuff with kneeling hip extensions, wall sits, and sissy and calf raises. Let's start with our back extensions. I want everyone on your stomach, laying down flat. Your glutes are going to be tight, but your legs and toes are going to stay on the floor. From here, you can pull your hands straight back like you're reaching behind you. I want you to lift from the chin, lift the chest, and then drop back down. 10 reps. Two more. Excellent. Let's flip over into some V-ups. So for your V-ups, we start in that same hollow position like we were in before. Then we extend our legs, and that helps pull our chest up. Then as we rock back, we try and maintain that hollow. So my knee or my ankles and my chest move away from each other, then they pull back in. And as I extend, I'm maintaining that hollow position. So I'm keeping my pelvis tucked, trying to crunch my ribs. I don't want to lose that position. I want to crunch and stay there. Pull those ribs down towards my hips. After 10, shoulder taps and inchworms, everyone's favorite. Alternating right and left hand on the shoulder taps. And then straight into some inchworms. I'm just going to walk my hands forward for my first rep, and then walk them all the way back to my feet. Last rep. Next up we have kneeling hip extensions or sissy squats. For most of us it'll probably be a kneeling hip extension, so I'll go with this variation for now. You can either tuck your toes or point them, whatever's most comfortable for your feet. If you're sitting in like this position regularly and you feel like you have to point your toes because it's more comfortable, I would do your kneeling hip extensions in that position. But if you can tuck your toes and it feels okay, awesome. If it starts to feel sketchy, just switch to that toe pointed position. Just depending on your ability, it's going to feel a little bit different either way. So let's start by tucking the pelvis. squeezing the butt. We're gonna lean back, and we're pressing our feet into the ground to push us back forward. Pelvis stays tucked, glutes stay squeezed, abs stay tight. Just 5 reps. Go to a depth that feels reasonable for you. After our 5, we're gonna get into a wall sit for 30 seconds. Ideally, hips and knees are parallel, but really just depends on your squat. 10 more seconds. Three, 2, 1, back on up. And then calf raises. 20 reps worth. Toes are gonna point straight ahead. Bridge up onto the ball of that foot, and then back. I like to lift my toes up in the back position. And I'm not shooting up into that position, I am holding that top position. Max contraction there. Eight more. All right, back to the top. Back extensions first on your stomachs. Looks like we may get through only 2 rounds of this station. That's okay. Big deep breath. Lift from the chin, pull that chest up, and then lay that whole chest back down onto the floor. Almost like you're doing a segmented cat-cow. Pull from the chin, pull from the top of the rib cage, pull from the base of the rib cage, and then reverse on the way back down. Hands can go behind you. Hands can go next to you, but not on the floor. I like to go hands behind me. Helps me squeeze my shoulder blades together. Helps me just get more posterior action. After 10, we're going to roll over onto our stomach. Get some V-ups in. Remember, we have that extension of the legs that helps tilt us forward, almost like we're doing a hollow rock, and we just pull ourselves in. So there is a rhythm to it. That end range is an extended hollow, and at the top, you're using the leverage of your legs to pull back in. I picked a squeaky spot on my floor to do these. Who am I kidding? The whole floor is squeaky. After your 10, shoulder taps and inchworms. Remember, straight arm plank position. I didn't say anything about your feet, but feet need to be wide enough so that as you lift one point of contact off the floor, your whole body doesn't shift. We should be trying to stay square to the floor as we alternate right and left. So if that means you need to bring your hands close together and keep your feet wide, that's a great option. One more for me. Then I'm going right into my inchworm, and I'll walk my hands back. I'm going to count that as 1. 2. 3. 5. All right, next up we have kneeling hip extensions. Based on how that last progression felt, you could try tucking your toes if that feels good, or you could try pointing your toes if the tuck hurt your feet. Again, we don't want to be moving, we don't want to be working through pain here. These progressions should be pretty mild. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm talking a lot during this because I'm not wearing my heart rate monitor, because I'm recording on my phone. So I have to use the talk test to tell if I'm in that aerobic zone range. And I found that it's actually, for me, pretty accurate. If I can maintain kind of a conversation pace without huffing and puffing, I tend to be green. So it's a good way for me to kind of dictate my pace. Let's get a 30-second wall sit in. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Halfway. Five seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's finish out. Got about 15 seconds left. Let's finish out with some calf raises here. All the way up into the top position. Halfway. Awesome. We went a little bit over on that last round there, but that's all right. Well done, everybody. Piece of cake. Some nice aerobic zone time. Do me a favor. Grab some water if you need to. Keep on breathing, help bring that heart rate down. We definitely don't want to see it spike up after this workout. We're just going to cool down with 2 or 3 really quick things. Let's start with some hip capsule cars. So I mentioned this on our good mornings, but our ability to hinge from our hip really depends on how much capacity we have to move our pelvis and spine relative to our femur. And a good indicator of that is our hip capsule car. So for your hip capsule car, what you're trying to do is keep your pelvis still. That's why we're laying on our back, so we can feel any shifting that happens. And same with our spine. Spine is still as well. Again, on our back, so we can feel if that thing moves around or any pressure changes against it. Then from our hip perspective, we're keeping our knee directly over our hip. So we're treating our femur like an axis. And then that gives us just a really nice moment or a lever arm to see how much rotation we have. So if you can't internally rotate at all and your leg just stops when it's right in front of your knee, that's an indicator that you need probably a little bit more joint space. We're going to do 10 reps on each leg, and each time you move into external, you want to feel those adductors working super hard, and each time you move into internal, you want to feel those hip flexors squeeze in pretty hard. By no means is this a max effort, but remember, there's like a rod going through your femur. So this whole leg is vertical, and it stays vertical and in line with your hip that whole time. Let's get 10 reps on our other leg. After our 10, we're going to pop up and get into the bottom of a lunge position. And we're just going to do some quad and hip flexion pails. So it's kind of 2 layers of movement here. We're going to start by tucking our pelvis. That's going to help lengthen all of this anterior hip tissue. That's going to stay lengthened as we try and pull our knee forward. So I'm pushing my knee towards my front heel. Push. Then I'm going to layer in another movement, which is going to be knee extension. I'm going to try and press my toes into the floor. That should get everything kind of quad, hip flexor, all the anterior hip stuff to contract in this lengthened position. Doesn't have to be super intense. Just hold it for 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. And let's switch sides. Again, on your setup, tuck the pelvis. Drive that knee forward, press the toes down on top of that, holding for a total of 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly relax. Let's flip over onto our stomachs now. Just want to do one quick thing to stretch out the pecs. So you're going to get into a Y position with your right shoulder. So it's If this is on my right side, 9 o'clock, this would be, well, above that. Sorry, I'm confused because this is a 9, this is 3. 1:30 for my right side. I want you to roll the front of your shoulder, a Y position, a Y position. I want you to roll the front of your shoulder onto the floor and then take your opposite leg, kick it up and over. And that's really going to force you to stretch that whole pec. A lot of that bicep stuff. You can keep your elbows slightly bent if you'd like to. Elbow straight is not a bad thing. Just hanging out here. 3, 2, 1. Rest and switch. Three, 2, 1, relax. Come on back up. Well done today, everybody. I appreciate you getting some aerobic zone in. I know it's a challenging time if you're working out from home all the time and you're used to going to a gym or basis. That's okay. We're gonna get through it with some a little, creativity. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming in and working out, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.